And it says we're live, so there we go. Howdy, folks. Frank KG6 and LW here, and today I have,
Eric, KH6WI.
and we're going to be talking about satellites. We were supposed to have a third person, but he hasn't responded this afternoon, so he might drop in. We'll see. Uh, Hi, Eric.
Aloha.
So thanks for coming on, and today we're just going to chill out, talk about satellites. I have 10 questions we can roll through and give us, but we'll start with give us a little bit about your background in satellites.
So I have a background doing it professionally, which turns out is not at all related to doing it for fun. Um,
Okay.
but so it started, at least for ham radio wise, started May of 2023. I went to Hamvention and I stopped over at the AMSAT booth because I was on vacation for a month and I was, on the mainland US. And I thought, hey, I want to try working the repeater on the space station. So I went there and they're like, wait, you're from Hawaii? We have great news for you. You need to talk to the folks over here to, and they told me about Green Cube and because I was just planning on working the ISS from Wisconsin to do something when my friends and family were all working and I had nothing to do.
Right.
But they told me, hey, there's this satellite up there called Green Cube. You can work really far distance places. So from Hawaii, I could work all of the U.S.
Not
Um,
bad.
so I bought a Arrow 2, the regular small Arrow 2 for working the ISS. And then I got the Alaskan antenna to work Green Cube. So during my vacation, I worked a couple of different satellites like the ISS, SO50. The Tevel satellites were still active then. Um, had some fun just getting to learn how to do it, tracking Doppler and tracking where the satellites were. I think I made maybe 30, 35 QSOs over a two-ish week period. Um, and then got to Hawaii, ordered a 9700, got set up on Green Cube, and met tons of awesome people because there was no one in Hawaii that did Green Cube. Um,
So it was the
so,
first of things.
there not the first. There was another person who did Green Cube. He came to Hawaii for I think like a week, and then
Okay.
basically spent the week working people so they could finish their worked all states if they needed it. But at that time, Green Cube didn't have a huge user base. So by the time that I got on, like a year later, there was still a huge demand for it. But then I started to also do satellites like RS-44, which can technically I can work I think all of the U.S., but in practicality, I can work until about the Midwest. Um,
Still pretty decent.
Yeah, the only problem is to work most of the U.S. I have to drive 45 minutes to get to the coast and work really low passes, and then I get about 5 minutes, and then it's over.
Oh, that's one heck of a drive just for about 5 minutes of satellite. But
Yeah,
hey, if it helps, get your work all states and get someone else the work to Hawaii for their all states.
yeah, and the passes on RS-44 are actually like 10 to 15 minutes, but it was mostly ocean was in the
Right.
footprint for a while. Um, so I did a lot of practicing. On on the FM satellites and RS-44. What it was basically over Hawaii and nothing else. I couldn't really upset anyone if I acted like a lid and didn't know what I was doing, because no one else was in the footprint.
Right.
So basically, from then, it's just anytime that I travel to the mainland, I bring a satellite radio. Um, I was able to get worked all states from Hawaii and then again from Wisconsin last year. Um, So I had the 30, 35 QSOs from 2023. Uh, and then in 2024, I brought the 9700 with, and I had one goal, and that was to work. this other station that had just gotten set up on Green Cube that just got set up in Hawaii like 2 weeks before.
Not bad.
So I knew that Green Cube wasn't going to be around forever. So my goal was get Hawaii knocked out, and the rest of them, I could work with an Aero antenna and an HT on an FM bird if I had to.
Right.
But
So,
I ended up in 3 weeks getting all 50 states knocked out.
hey, that's pretty darn quick considering. But I also know from talking to you behind the scenes and seeing you on Greg's show and whatnot, you've been very busy with the satellites. Like you'll run out, you'll drop everything, run out, and work the satellite if you can.
Yeah, if there's a pass that I know someone's going to be on, so sometimes RS-44, if there's a grid that I need, I'll get an alert from the hams.at webpage or hamsat. It's like, oh, hey, there's a pass coming up in 10 minutes and there's a grid that I haven't worked on before. I'll just rush outside. I have my 9700 hooked up, ready to go. I've got a battery on the bottom. It's basically like a utility cart, like a janitor would have.
Right.
So I've got everything. All I need to do is go outside, turn on the laptop, turn on the radio, connect the antenna, put the headset on, and hope for the best.
Well, there you go. So today, especially, we wanted to talk about not just satellites, but working them portable because that's primarily what you do, and it seems like it's a good way to get it done is working them portable, right?
Yes. So I have a weird stance. I don't know if it's weird, but I think that if you're going to have a station at home, you need to build a good one. Otherwise, you're better off just being portable. So
that's a good way to look at it.
yeah, because there's different like portable rotation systems and things where you can mount your antennas. But I think that if you're not going to be putting together, spending $5,000 on a setup, you're probably actually better off just having a portable setup. Because if you try to build something with like fixed polarization, fixed elevation, you end up missing a lot of the pass because you can't hear the bird properly.
Right.
So it's just, I found that it's easier to operate 100% portable because I can't have an antenna at the house.
Yeah, a little bit of a restriction there, I'm sure.
Yep. And I actually bought a portable rotator. I won't name the brand, but it was over $1,000 and it doesn't work great. And the big thing is when you put your Aero antenna or your elk antenna on there, you can't adjust the polarization on it. So if the satellite's rotating or the polarization doesn't line up, you end up getting deep fades.
Right.
And if you're trying to work a sked and you can't hear the satellite for the 2 minutes that you have between you and the other person, then you just missed it.
Oh, yeah. So Jeff just watched your video on how to put together a satellite chasing pack.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been working on that pack for 2 years.
A lot of work gone into that for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of money too.
Yeah.
The actual pack's not that expensive. The cost just comes into buy this bag, try it out, don't like it. Well, what if I do this? What if I do that? So I've got basically like a big tote just full of gear that I didn't like.
Well, you know what you do. You if that's over there with you in Hawaii, you bring it back to the mainland and you go to like Hamvention or something and you sell it in the boneyard. Someone's going to pick it up. Uh-oh. Did we lose? Oh, we lost you there. Yeah, you're back.
Okay.
Did you hear anything I said?
You said something about bringing it to Hamvention.
Yeah, just ship it all back and the stuff you don't want, bring it to Hamvention, put it in the boneyard, and sell it off that way.
No selling used gear.
Oh, okay.
Actually, what's nice though is some of the stuff that's on my current pack was actually gear that was on my very first like iteration from 2023.
Oh wow.
Because sometimes it's just nice to go through all your old stuff and be like, what can I use this for? And I actually rebuilt the pack that I built on video. I've been using that for about 6 months. Well, not 6 months. Well, okay. I've used it for the last 2 months, and then I used it last year before I went QRT for a while.
Right.
But basically, it's got 6 months worth of use on it. So I recently went through, and I have another radio. So I basically just from all the used, tested out components, I built a second pack. So now I have 2 satellite packs because I just had enough leftover, airsoft fake tactical gear.
There you go. So that sort of covers the first question I had lined up here. The second one, and we'll just let the ham radio tube sass go there. Hawaiians are killing ham radio.
No.
Uh, how do you choose the right antenna for portable rig? Yagi versus Helix versus a patch antenna?
I don't know anyone that's using a patch. Um, any sort of helical antenna. I don't know. I don't think I've seen people use a helical. There are people using cross polarization and circular polarization, but those are more for if you have a rotator at home, because those start to get heavy.
Okay.
And if you have a cross or circular polarized 70 centimeter one, you're also going to need a 2 meter. So now you're going to have 2 big antennas like pointing at the sky that are heavy. So generally, if you're portable, you're going to be using a linear polarization antenna. So I like the Arrow 2. I think the Arrow 2 is the sweet spot for portable antennas. With 5 watts, I can work any of the low Earth satellites. And not only that, but I think that the Arrow 2 has the best reception. So SO50, I think, I can pull it up. I think SO50 is like 250 milliwatts. And with the Arrow 2, it sounds like the repeater in my neighborhood.
That's a pretty good antenna then. Let's see. Here's the Arrow 2 from Arrow Antennas.
So I do have, probably 5 of them. So I have the Alaskan. I have the custom green cube one, which sadly I don't have a use for anymore. I have 3 of those Arrow 2s. And then I have 2 custom built ones from a Canadian ham that lives in Thailand. He made me some custom made carbon fiber booms. So they're super, super light.
And light is the name of the game, right?
Yes. Because I don't use a tripod. Some people like to use a tripod with their Arrow antenna, but I think it's cumbersome and awkward, and it actually makes it harder to track, because what you end up doing is you're pointing it in the right spot, and then you leave it. And then once your signal starts to fade out, you go scramble to try and repoint it. Where with my current setup, I just, I'll just 1 second, I'll actually show you.
Yeah. Well, while you're doing that, I'll make a quick comment. I watched your and Steve temporarily offline's video doing the satellite stuff, and the tripod falling was something else.
Yeah, and the exception that I have about the tripods was for Green Cube, because that you needed basically a 10 element antenna or better, and that pass lasted an hour and a half. So I wasn't going to hold the Alaskan for an hour or 70 minutes.
Right.
So on the current setup,
there you go.
I have
your solo.
If you're familiar with something called ATAC, like if you've ever seen someone that uses like a chest rig, like an army dude, and they've got this thing where they can pull down, and they've got their little phone in here.
Bring that up a little higher.
Here,
there you go. That works too.
Or I'll back up. So basically, you can put your phone in here. And I have a second phone, like an old, just cheap prepaid phone that I had from like 5 years ago. And I put Velcro on it, and there's Velcro on here. You just stick it in here with ISS detector, And how I track the satellite is I just hold the antenna out in front of me and I point my entire body at the satellite. It makes it super, super, super easy
That's a good way to do it.
because the ISS detector app actually shows you where the satellite is and it gives you like a little compass arrow on where to point.
Right.
So I just point my body at that arrow and just kind of rotate as it goes through. And on the thing, it shows you the elevation of the satellite. So all you have to do is point your body at the arrow. And then if it says 45, just point the antenna up at a 45.
Okay.
So it makes pointing super easy. And I'm basically never not pointing at the satellite on the pass because it's just over time you get used to doing it and having that kind of like heads up display with your phone. Um, it just makes it so you don't have to think about it. And
Right.
that's probably the hardest part, I think, for satellites is something called task saturation. Sorry, I'm going off in like 7,000
No,
tangents.
go for it. That's what CQ Chit Chat is about. We go on all the tangents.
So, what task saturation is, I think it's a big topic in like the aviation field, but basically you've got so much going on that you're not giving the enough attention to each thing, or you don't have enough time because you have more tasks than you have time.
Right.
So, trying to reduce what you have to actively think about is super important with satellites. And another thing, like with the phone, not only does it reduce having to think about it because you have it right up in front of you, you don't need another hand to like grab the phone out of your pocket, or you're not trying to awkwardly look at your antenna if you have your phone mounted to your antenna.
Right.
So it's
You
just
have
one of
it all
those
set up
things.
and ready to go.
Yeah. So I have one hand on the antenna, and on that portable setup, I have the other hand on the mic. And then when I do the Doppler adjustment, I just take the hand with the mic and just turn the knob.
There we go. So let me one there. Yeah, that probably came true, but that's okay. I'm going to share it anyway. Let me. There's that up there. What I
I think my
wanted to
chair's
highlight
falling down.
here. Here, share tab audio. There we go.
Oh yeah, that's a 20-minute video.
Yeah, but we're going to scrub way ahead because if I remember right, towards the end, you show it all packed up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right about here probably. So let's see here. As we're playing this, I'll back it up a little bit. Why don't you do a little describing of what you got going on here?
All right, so that's the radio. I use a ICOM 2730. I don't always use that one, but basically when I travel back to the mainland and I don't want to bring my 9700, which gets to be pretty large, I'll bring this pack with me because I can just put this in the bottom of my carry-on. Um, so I put the radio in the bag. It fits basically just perfect in there. It's about 6 inches by 10 inches. And I put that bag, just strap it to my chest with a chest harness. And then on top of the radio or outboard of the radio or forward, whatever it is, in front of the
Right.
radio is basically that flip down ATAC panel.
Okay.
So when I look down, I can see my transmit frequency, my receive frequency, and where I need to point the antenna all at just a quick glance.
There we go. So nice, simple, and easy to do with very simple rig and very simple setup too. Let's see. Stop screen sharing. There we go.
Yep. And there are things that are a little complicated. So like I have the MFJ duplexer um, on there. So I have like a jumper going to that, and then two coax going to the antenna.
Right.
Um, and there's a version of the Arrow antenna, and I talk about this in the video, that has a duplexer built in. But I'm paranoid of accidentally bumping that power button. sending 15 watts into the duplexer and burning it up, and then having, if I'm on vacation for 2 weeks and
Yeah.
I don't have a spare, so I like to have that duplexer that'll take 300 watts just in case I accidentally hit the power button. And if you, pro tip, when you transmit at 50 watts with this rig because you'll hear it in the headphones.
Oh, RF buzz.
Yeah. And if you touch the elements, you'll feel it in your fingers.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
tingles a little bit, doesn't it?
yeah. And Tim, the owner of Arrow, even advises you don't transmit more than 10 watts if you're holding the antenna.
That's a good way to do it.
And the
All
thing
right.
is, like,
Yeah.
10 watts is enough, or even 5 watts, because the radio I use only has 5 and then 15. I can work SO50 with my 9700 at 1 watt all the way down to the horizon.
Well, the one thing, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the one thing I understand about the birds, the birds, guys, are satellites. If you didn't know, uh, is you don't need a whole lot of power to work them because you're literally going straight up into the atmosphere at them.
Yep.
Versus land-based repeater where you might have hills or whatever to work over. You're looking right at the bird. You don't need a lot of power.
Yep. You're going, 300, 400, 500 miles through space. But with the Arrow, you've got a 3-element Yagi, and there's no noise. Well, at least I would assume there's no noise in space.
All
So the
right.
receivers can hear you pretty good. The actual limitation comes in more on the receive side. And I think that's what people struggle with a lot is the receive side, and they can't hear the satellite. And you know who can't hear the satellite because they'll call out KH6WI Bravo Lima 11, and then 15 seconds later KH6WI Bravo Lima 11, and people will call them and they won't respond because they're
And
just calling out trying to hear the satellite.
right.
And oftentimes they'll transmit over the top of other people because they don't hear it.
That's reason number one for this hobby. Listen, listen, listen before you transmit. I know it's short pass and everything,
Yeah.
yeah, for satellites, but still, listen, listen, listen. Right?
Yes, and actually, like super. I think this is a pro tip. I'm not a pro, but I guess this is an amateur tip. Go out and work like 10 or 15 passes without. Don't even bring your mic with you. Just listen, because you might start to hear it, and you hear 1 or 2 QSOs, and it's fading in and out, and you throw your call sign, and now if you can't hear it again, and now a minute later you kind of hear it, so you call out again. That's not really enough to work a satellite.
Right.
You can make 1 or 2 QSOs on a pass doing that, but you have to kind of think of you don't want to make it so other people can't make QSOs. Like you don't, it's surprising you don't have any idea what you can't hear when you can't hear it, right?
Yeah. It is. Yeah. If you can't hear it, don't attempt to work it. That's how I look at it.
Yep. And there's videos. I've got a couple videos where I worked portable, and there's some other ops that post videos regularly, and you'll see people in the middle of a QSO, and then just I'll be like KG6 NLW. This is KH. It cuts out, and then it'll be like Whiskey 1 Alpha Bravo Charlie, whatever. Don't that's not actually a person, I don't think. Let me make sure.
I think that call use K toads.
Okay, yeah. Oh, actually, W1 ABC is a real person, so I won't
Yeah.
use them. Yeah, someone will just come in, just blasting over everyone. Kilo Tango 0 Alpha Delta Sierra, just in the middle of other people talking.
Right.
And it's because they're actually transmitting with a lot of power and can't hear. Because that's one of the things too. If you can't hear the satellite, it doesn't mean it can't hear you.
It's floating around up there in space that, well, it's rotating really fast and it's just passing over. So yeah, it's going to hear you. And if you can't hear it, well, That's
Yeah.
what? Maybe a station problem? Maybe you're not in the right zone for it?
And you also have to manage Doppler effect. Like when you transmit, most of the satellites are on 2 meters, and there's not actually that much Doppler effect on 2 meters. The higher the frequency, the more Doppler plays into a factor.
Right.
Um, and in fact, if people want to later go on my GitHub page, I wrote a Python program that will visually demonstrate Doppler effect to you. Um, but basically, on the 2 meter side, if you transmit right at the center, the entire pass, the satellite can hear you. But
Right.
you have to adjust on the 70 centimeter up to 10 kilohertz either side. So if I'm listening 10 kilohertz in the wrong direction, but I'm transmitting, the satellite will still hear me and I'll never hear it.
Because you're going in the wrong direction.
Yep. Yep.
So,
So,
Mike, the traveling ham, he's just now getting. Well, Mike, you've been into satellites for a little bit now, right? A couple months or so. He'll try if he can hold the signal. That's a good way to think about it, I think. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, you basically, what I would say to the point where you're transmitting, I would say you need to work a couple of passes. And I think he's already past this point because I know he worked his first QSO with Patrick WD9 EWK, which is he's an awesome guy.
Right.
Um, so basically, you want to be able to like the majority of the pass from maybe 30 degrees above the horizon all the way overhead down to 30 degrees. If you can hold a solid signal on that much of a pass, I'd say yeah, you're ready to transmit.
There you go. And talking about Doppler, that sort of moves into the other question I had here. How do you handle Doppler shift compensation in a portable setup? Do you use like manual or automated adjustment? What goes on behind the scenes for that?
So if I'm using the 9700, I have either software on the computer or a little box that'll do it for me. When I'm using the portable setup on that rig or my HT, the D72, I just have memory set up. So I'll transmit the center transmit frequency. I just have one memory for that, and then I have 5 on the downlink. So the way I have it is I just label them. Let's say the ISS. I have ISS D1, D2, D3, D4, and D5.
Okay.
So on one of the VFOs, I'll put the uplink, and the other VFO, I put the downlink starting at D1. And as it's approaching me, um, about the first 20 to 30% of the pass, you can use D1, and then you switch over. And it's kind of weird. It's not broken up directly into 20% increments.
Right.
You're going to have the most Doppler shift the closer it gets overhead, because that's when it's changing direction. I shouldn't say changing direction, but it's all about the relative motion to you. So when it's off in the horizon speeding at you, the actual relative change isn't that much. But now I've gotten to a point where I've just worked so many passes, I can actually hear the downlink crackle because it's starting to get above that like 2.5 kilohertz deviation.
Right.
And I can hear the signal start to get a little, worse. And I'll just click it over one notch, go from D1 to D2, comes in perfectly clear. And then just roughly as it's getting overhead, I'll put the D3, and then the same on the way out. As I hear it the signal start to get bad, I'll just go to the next memory.
Okay. So apparently, the geekiest guy is a fellow Hawaiian out there. He says satellites hit different in Hawaii.
Yeah, mostly they don't. Yeah, a lot of the FM birds we just can't work. Well, it's not that we can't work them, but there's no one to talk to.
There's too much ocean on either side of you to work anybody.
Yeah. And depending on the pass, like evening passes on the ISS, it's kind of off and on. Sometimes there may be 5 or 6 different Hawaiian stations on the ISS, and then you might go several weeks where no one's on it.
Okay. Yeah, apparently he loves his D72 though, but the battery's bad and hard to get batteries sent there.
Yeah, batteries are one of the biggest struggles.
And hi, Bricker. Yeah, Eric's a little out of sync, but that's because he's using satellite to talk to us, actually, aren't you, Eric?
Yeah, I'm using Starlink, but
Yeah,
that shouldn't have any effect on it. It's probably because I'm using the OBS virtual camera and then not using the audio through that.
maybe that there might be a whole combination of things there, but yeah, just a just a smidge delay between your mouth moving and the audio, but it's fine.
Oh, let me try and fix it real quick.
Okay. Yeah, Tortoise Overland says your satellite's a little lagged.
Oh, all right. I'll have to fix it later. It's gonna make me look all weird.
Oh, apparently both of us are off, so it must be something with Restream then.
Oh, okay. Well, then I
So
won't adjust anything.
yeah, leave it alone. Okay. Thanks, Chris. Thanks. Uh, okay. So, what are the best practices for powering your portable station in the field? Looked like you had a Dinko or a Bioenno there in that battery pack.
So I do have the Denko 6 amp hour, and then I also have a 3 amp hour Bioenno. Wait, did I say Denko Bioenno?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Dinko was the first. Anyway, yeah.
yeah. So I've got the Denko battery. That's a 6 amp hour, and then I have a 3 amp hour Bioenno. And I don't, I, I don't know if it'll turn the radio off with the 3 amp hour if you try to hit 50 watts, but um, I just wouldn't anyway. But at 5 watts, you basically have all day battery life with the 3 amp hour or the 6 amp hour Denko.
Okay. Uh, let's see. So you just you can run all day with it. Okay. Well, that was an easy question. This one's pretty easy too. How do you plan and predict satellite passes effectively for portable operations? So, tracking software, apps, schedules, elevation angles.
All right. So I have great news for you. I get to plug my own software.
Go for it.
Um, I don't know where to paste it.
Private chat.
All right. So that the link I just sent you
Yep.
is a satellite predictor that I wrote in Python a couple months ago.
I just dropped it in chat.
If you don't know how to use GitHub and download from GitHub and use Python, well then it's probably not for you because it's not supposed to be finished software. It's just something a project I play with when I'm bored. Otherwise, just use your phone. ISS detector. If you have Android, W1ANT is an Android app. If you have an iDevice, you can use GoSat Watch.
Okay.
Otherwise, you go to amsat.org. Amsat.
Yeah, I have that listed here. I'm going to drop it in a second.
Yeah, it's of course I don't have a link to it handy. But basically, amsat.org, they have a pass predictor. And the AMSAT page also has a status page. So amsat.org/status. You can look at crowdsourced info of other people that are working it. So if you look at ISS-FM, that's the repeater on the ISS. If it's showing red and a lot of red, and now you can't hear it, well, it's probably either not working or off.
Let me bring up exactly what you're talking about here so that the people have a good idea.
Yeah. So on there, like AO123, for example, you see a lot of the lines that are blue or the little boxes that are blue. So
Right.
at that time, someone's saying, "Yeah, I heard it and it's working."
Well, let's hear
And then when it's
May
red,
9th. So today at 1346 UTC, it was heard over China.
so and don't take too much stock. If you see one red, that could either mean it's down or that person just didn't hear it.
So, like an hour ago, Let's hear LU1 IAS. Did not hear it apparently.
Yeah. Um, I might have an echo. I think my headphones are leaking. Um, but yeah, if you see just one red and a bunch of blue, it just might be someone who didn't hear it.
Oh, I know why there might be an echo. Stop sharing. There we go. I
Uh,
think the audio came with the tab, so let me disable audio on the tab and then reshare. There we go.
okay. And then you'll see some. I think the orange is basically if there's conflicting reports, it may show an orange.
Like this orange back on May 7th.
Yeah. So someone said that it was telemetry only, and then someone else said it's not heard.
Right. This is definitely a good page, if you're wanting to work specific satellites to check out and look at. And I'll drop that in the chat as well.
Yeah, because if you're trying to work a sat and you're just like, why can't I hear anything? Check out that page. Maybe it's off.
Yeah, it might be off.
So some of them work on a schedule. Other ones, like AO7 is 50 years old. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
There you go. Um, Geez, we're rocking through these, Eric. We might go early. What radios are commonly used for satellite QSOs and portable setups, and why? I mean, obviously lighter is better, but
It varies. So I like full duplex radios, and I will recommend to use a full duplex radio. There are some of the cheap Chinese radio, the DMR radios that run OpenGD7 or OpenGD7 77. Um, they actually have the Doppler correction built in, and they'll show you where the satellite is on the screen, which is super handy because now you don't have to worry about Doppler correction, and you can just look at your radio to find out where the satellite is. But I don't know of any of them that are full duplex, so I personally don't recommend them. Excuse me.
yeah.
But I know other people like them. I know Don, who I'm not sure why he's not here. He likes he likes to use OpenGD 77. Um, but Don's also been doing this for a while. So I would say if you're just starting out, I would say forgo using that because I think full duplex is the best way to operate satellites. Um, and that's just because you know if you're getting in or not. Um, if you can hear the satellite and you transmit, you can hear yourself come back on the downlink. Um, and if you can't hear yourself or you start transmitting and you're hearing someone else, that lets you know, hey, let go of the PTT button because I'm not getting in. And basically, I'm either going to cause interference or, I'm either not getting in or I'm going to actually mess up someone else. So it's good practice to know if you're getting in or not.
So real quick, and you're gonna have to take this for a minute or so here. What about SDRs or something like that? Listening for satellites. I have to step away for just a minute, so take it, and I'll be right back.
So SDR is like a RTL SDR. They're good for listening, but I think a lot of them, if you don't have a fast enough computer on the downlink, you're going to end up having too much delay for it to work. All right, and the traveling hams asking ISS SO50 AO91 SO124. Another one that AO123 is active. And PO101 is active sometimes. They post, I think, on Twitter when it's going to be active. Other than that, those are the ones that get used the most. As soon as the new Tevel satellites get activated, those are going to be on all the time. And then there's another one called Hades ICM, which should hopefully be active soon as well. All right. Well, he's gone. If anyone has any questions, okay.
I'm back. Sorry, delivery service decided to deliver the package that needed a signature right at the right time, and I'm the only one that could sign for it.
I wish I had that luck. I'm still waiting for packages from 3 weeks ago.
Well, they're on the boat. That's all I'm going to say. They're on the boat.
Actually, USPS has no idea where they are, which is standard for them.
Wait. Hold on. Did it come from Big Jim in Alabama?
No, from Amazon.
Oh, okay. Because apparently, an ATOS is missing in transit in Alabama. If you
Yeah,
haven't, yeah.
if you sent it via USPS, good luck.
UPS apparently. So did you answer? I had it started, but did you answer Mike's question?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start that. Uh, Geekiest guy wants to know which island you're on, if you wish to reveal.
I am on Oahu for the next 3 or so weeks.
There you go.
And then I'll be on the mainland for a little bit, and then I will be living in Asia for the next couple of years.
Oh, you're getting put there, huh? Okay.
Yep.
You go as deep with that as you want. That's all I'm gonna say. I understand. So we're cool. Uh, okay. Fun question. How do you minimize interference and maximize signal quality while operating outdoors? Talk, cable shielding, environment scanning, preamps. I don't know how you'd environment scan, but I'll
Um,
let you take that.
you don't really have to worry about it too much. Um, on the side, sometimes you'll see noise on the 2 meter side, but most of the satellites are 2 meter transmit. So you transmit on 2 meters and you're listening on 70 centimeters. I haven't found many places that have noise on 70 centimeter. Um, so environmental, I don't worry about it. Um, I've not really found places that it's affected me, except for one spot at Hamvention. I was running a pass and I got clobbered by something for half a pass. It was, I don't know
Oh,
what it was. Um, but generally, I don't worry about it. The thing that you have to sort of consider is losses from your coax. Um, and as long as you keep your coax short, it's not going to matter. You can run RG58. Um, and I used to run RG58 on the FM satellites, but I recently just got the uh, M&P Hyperflex 5.
oh, that's some good stuff.
And when you actually look at the losses on a 3 foot section of coax, it's only like 0.1 dB better than RG58, just because there's essentially no loss on a 3 foot cable run.
Right.
But I got the M&P more because I want the good connectors.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're running Amazon coax and you're on a the last time I was on the mainland, I went to a couple of grids that people needed. So they're working on their Gridmaster award. And if I had broken the coax, well, I just drove 4 hours to get to a grid and couldn't work a pass.
Right.
So
Apparently, cheese is not that big in Asia. Better stock up before you go.
yeah, I like cheese.
Yeah, cheese is good. Okay. So, anything else minimizing interference or maximizing signal quality?
So maximizing signal quality. One thing I didn't touch on is polarization. Um, most of the satellites are going to transmit linear polarization, and there's some like weird technical stuff, like Faraday rotation. Like as the signal goes through the ionosphere, it'll actually become slightly elliptical. Um,
Hmm.
but there are a couple that have circular polarized antennas. But if you're operating portable, you're generally going to be in using a linear polarization on your antenna. So if you don't have enough things to do already between tracking the azimuth, the elevation, and the Doppler shift, you also have to track the polarization change.
And
So,
as if that's not enough, there's more, folks. And we'll get to it in a second.
so basically, a lot of these satellites, they're not like crazy out of control spinning, but most of them have no guidance control whatsoever. So you don't have um, you don't have any idea what orientation the antenna's at. Um, Even on the ISS, people say that it's vertically polarized, but what they often don't think about is it's not vertically polarized in relation to you. It's pointing at what they call nadir, which basically means it's pointing at the center of the Earth from the space station.
Right.
So if you think about if you're standing here in the space station, I can't do the visual on the camera; it's too hard. But
Yeah.
basically, if it's off on the edge of the horizon, it's not necessarily vertical to you. It could be 10 degrees off from where you're at. And don't I'm sure someone will quote me in the chat saying, "Oh, it's 3.25 whatevs." Um but basically another thing you have to look at with the ISS is you may not have a straight shot into the antenna. They've got Soyuz and not Starliner, the the SpaceX ships dangling off. They have other modules. You actually may be hearing the signal of it bouncing off a different part of the space station.
Yeah.
Um, and
And the
if you go
geekiest
to
guys and the geekiest guy says they're also going about 17,000 miles an hour. So,
yeah, so the polarization at the one part of the pass, it may be different at the other part of the pass because even though the antenna may stay at the same orientation, how you observe it is different. But if you go on the Eris webpage, um, they actually have like equipment. Uh, I don't remember where it is on their page, but they talk about how the signal can bounce off the side of the space station along with the Faraday rotation and such. Um, so yeah, as Mike said in the chat, yeah, you should. You don't need to twist it as you transmit. You don't have to listen to it and then twist it. Um, Basically, how you have the best copy on it, like if you're receiving it well, that's probably how you're going to transmit into it. Um, but the great thing is, if you're using full duplex, you can hear. So if you're transmitting and there's kind of a gap, twist it and see if the signal goes away or gets better. So if you're let's say 90 degrees off of the polarization, you might hear it or not hear it. But basically, twisting that 90 degrees could change uh, you being able to transmit or not. Um, and what some people do is they just crank their power, so they mitigate the loss based off of polarization fading by just transmitting more power. Um, but it's better to just point properly and be able to hear the satellite than to just crank your power.
and as we said earlier, more power isn't always a great thing because it's literally right there in the sky.
And when I say use 5 watts, I'm talking about portable. Obviously, if you have, you know, a 40-foot tower 300 feet away from your house, 5 watts may be eaten up by your coax. So essentially, you just think about like 5 watts at the antenna.
Now, that's a good way to think about it. All right. So, as I said earlier, Eric's talked about all the stuff that, you have to task manage. What about logging while portable? How do you do that? I know Digital Rancher Rob, who's a great guy. He was a little too busy to come on tonight. Otherwise, it would have been him and Eric and one other. Uh, I know he does the whole live stream recording and then just logs it that way. How do you log it?
All right. So um, it depends on what setup I'm using. If I'm using the D72 or the FM rig that I just built, or the video on that, I have a audio recorder. Um, it's just a cheap Sony recorder. See if I can dig it out of the pack here.
And guys, if you have any fun questions for Eric, feel free to drop them in chat. I'm starring stuff as I'm going along and seeing them, and we'll do those towards the end here.
So I use a just Sony recorder, and if you look at the video that I made on the build video, I basically split my headphones, and one of them goes into the recorder, and the other go into my ears. um, and then I could just listen to it after the pass. If I'm using the 9700, or actually, let me backtrack. If I'm videoing the pass, which I'm trying to do more and more of, I have a DJI mic that I'll just clip onto me, and that'll pick up me talking to the camera, and then
Right.
I have a second DJI mic that's plugged into the radio to get the received audio. And then there's some cable magic that you have to do because the audio levels are too high from the radio.
Oh
But in
yeah.
my video, I go over what cable you need.
And Mike says, just remember to hit that record button. Don't ask how he knows. Absolutely, Mike.
Yep.
Always hit the record button.
And then if I'm using the 9700, um, I if you've seen my videos with doing that, I take that to the extreme. So I have the 9700, the Arrow antenna. I'll wear a headset with a Heil headset with a mic, and I have a PTT button on the antenna. So I can operate FM satellites with my 9700 with just one hand. So I log live when I do it that way. So I just type on the keyboard and log as I'm making QSOs. And I guess some people that upsets some people because they need 17 hands. So um, I don't know. I fiddle around with things until I find what works for me. And having the headset with the mic and then the PTT button on the antenna adds more cables, but it makes it super easy to do all the logging.
There we go. So, my last big question, we can cover it or we can go with the one pin question I have. Uh, what's a real world example? Try saying that 5 times fast. Of or experience using your portable rig. What worked, what didn't?
Hmm. All right. So I will say, I'll twist your question about what worked.
Go
I'll say
for it.
what works in the satellite community is being a team player. Um, there are a lot so the community is kind of small. It's not like terribly small, but there is a dedicated community of people, and you want to be a part of it. And you do that by being like a good steward of satellites. Um, if you're using satellites and acting in your short-term best interest, you're also acting in your long-term, like, against yourself. So as an example, I talked about the worked all states.
Right.
It took me 6 months to get worked all states from Hawaii, and there were times where no green cube operator was in like the state of Maine for the longest time, and
Ooh,
green cube was the only satellite that I could reach Maine with. So I would still get on and make QSOs, even though I only needed like 2 states left.
right.
Um, I would still make QSOs, and like some of the things are like, while you're on passes, like respect the rovers, the people that are going and driving hundreds of miles to put new grids on.
Oh, absolutely.
If there's someone on a rare grid, um, they get the priority on that pass. If someone's going to DMO2 at San Clemente Island,
You let them
don't
have it.
yeah, let them make 25 QSOs because someone might not be on that island for 6 more months. So if you're on there, let's say someone's at DMO2 and you and I, Frank, have made 45 QSOs this month already on different satellites. The thing to do is I'm not going to call you
Right. Uh,
because there's only 10 minutes of satellite time. Um, like I don't have to try and make as many QSOs every pass. Um,
exactly.
and I like to think I actually wrote like a little presentation on it that I haven't released. It's called like operating with Aloha.
Ooh.
So basically the gist of it is like you have to act in everyone's best interest, not just your short-term interest. Um, and you have to like foster this community and the mentality that everyone wins. Because operating satellites can be a zero-sum game. I
Right.
can ruin a pass for everyone else for my own advantage. I can make 15 QSOs on an FM pass and just wreck the pass for everyone else. So that's what I would call a zero sum pass. Um, so I could wreck it for everyone else, but at the end of that pass, people are going to be like, "Man, Eric is a jerk." And you know, the people on that pass, they'll talk to each other. There's a lot of people that are on X. People talk. If you have, being the label of a lid, well, if I'm going to go to a rare grid square and I've got the passes I need, and you message me saying, "Hey, can you work a special pass just for me?" I might not have time.
Right.
But if you're one of the other people on the satellites that people respect, and you do positive things and you help people out, if you're not a lid, yeah, if I can help you out, you know, as long as I'm not going to miss a flight.
So
There's tons of times where I drove up to the North Shore here just to work someone on Green Cube because they needed Hawaii. I
right.
didn't I didn't need their grid. I didn't need their province and or however the countries work in Europe. Like, hey, I'm not going to work you because I've already worked someone in Germany. Good luck. Like you know. But I've made tons of trips up to the North Shore because someone said, "Hey, can you help me out? I really need Hawaii." Um, and the more you help out people, the more you get that back in return.
Absolutely. So geekiest guy said one can't be a lid in the satellite community. He's just been fiddling. A lot of folks are hardcore into it, and he's happy to be in BK29 most of the time because folks want that square.
Yeah, BK29 is pretty rare. Um, BL11 and BL01 were rare, but I think I've taken that off the table.
For now.
Um, yeah. Uh, but for the geekiest guy, I mean, here's the thing: if you want to be a lid on the FM birds in Hawaii, there's no one that if you're on SO50, no one like do what you want. Now, I'll just caveat that if you're on the mainland U.S., don't do that.
Just
Um,
only in Hawaii.
yeah, or Alaska.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. All right. So earlier on, Jeff asks, have you looked at halibut's egg beaters?
So I have one, and it's going to be on my Satnog station, but that's not something I would use for a portable operation um, for trying to actually work other stations because they're omnidirectional. They're low gain. And also you need two if you're going to work a crossband repeater. You need the transmit and the receive. So at that point, it's just too much stuff to bring with me.
Starting to juggle a lot there. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have one of his antennas that I need to build yet, but that's going to be on my Satnog station. So the Satnog stuff that just listens for like telemetry and things like that, so you can report it up to the Satnog's crowdsource.
Okay. And let's see here. Tortoise Overland said 92 got the Sarex contact right after they got their license. So, okay, that's cool. Let's see. Geekiest. I was waiting for this one. Can anyone guess where the thumbnail image came from?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it. Okay, let me. While we're going over this last one here, I'll bring it up. But Mike wants to know what's the most practical radio for linear birds.
All right, Mike, I got good news and bad news for you. The good news is the 9700 is an awesome radio. The bad news is it's $1,800.
Is that all it is right now?
Yeah. So some people use okay, and here's the thing: that's not even the most expensive way to do it. Um, some people use two of the Yaesu 818s, but other people are using two 705s. So that's running you
Oh,
2,500.
yeah, that gets a bit pricey very quickly. So 9,700
But it
if you
is
can afford it.
But two 705s is actually more portable since you don't need as many cables and batteries and um, like people have made little boxes and stuff that they can wear to have both of them.
Yeah, that is true. They do have a lot there. All right, don't share audio. Let's see. All right, uh, plus it up on the right side here, Frank. Can we tell who made this antenna? There's one very obvious giveaway here
It
as
looks
to
like
who made.
something you'd have in the kitchen. I don't know.
What if I zoom in on the radio here?
Is that a Hytera?
That's what they're thinking it is.
Oh,
This was AI generated, folks. I
yeah.
went the lazy way, and that antenna doesn't exist. Well, let's see here. Looks like that's. Let me catch up with chat here. Yeah, let's see. Uh, Mike will start saving. There you go, Mike. Well, Eric, I want to thank you for coming on. I wasn't planning on going longer than an hour here, and we're right at the hour mark. So I want to thank you for coming on, and I'm dropping your link another time for your YouTube because you put out some good stuff with the satellites.
Occasionally, I put out good stuff. Well,
Yeah.
I think my channel kind of sucks, but
I mean, you have some decent videos up there.
yeah.
So,
I'll just say I am a ham radio operator that occasionally makes YouTube videos. Um, I would not classify myself as a YouTuber because I am not good at it.
hey, you put videos on YouTube and you do a good job educating folks on the birds and whatnot, you're a YouTuber.
All right,
You,
fair enough.
yeah. And 4 or 5, yeah, small portion of my liver for sale. No lowballs. Yeah, my liver's equally as good. I know what I got too. With that, Eric, you got anything coming up on your channel or for satellite work?
Uh, well, I tried to break a world record the other day, but unfortunately didn't work out. So I'm going to try again. And then I've got a working on trying to do a sked with someone in North Carolina on RS-44. So
Oh,
that's going to be about like half a degree to 1 degree on both sides.
that's tight.
Yeah, and it's just it's a friend of mine who still needs to get Hawaii, so trying to get it for him before I leave. Um, but I'll also take this time just to say, hey, be a good steward and operate with aloha.
There you go. With that, wave goodbye to the folks, Eric, and we'll see y'all next time. 73, put on, y'all.